let's just get this over with. Hey guys, Julian Green here, aka Juju, with another installment of Juju Reviews. And today I'm going to be reviewing Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Alright, so today is Saturday. I had the pleasure of seeing the movie last night, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. Now, first off, I want to say that this movie has a lot of problems, and I mean a lot. The more I thought about it, the more problems I start finding with it. Not to say that there isn't anything to love about this movie too. There's plenty of jaw-dropping moments, great visuals, great spectacle, but the movie was sorely lacking, and I'm gonna get to it right now. I'm gonna tell you everything good, and I'm gonna tell you everything bad. First thing, to keep this positivity thing rolling, let's talk about the good, shall we? Now, one of my favorite things about this movie, and you'll read through reviews and you'll see everyone's opinion is a resounding yes on it as well: Ben Affleck as the Batman slash Bruce Wayne. This has been the Batman slash Bruce Wayne that we've been waiting for a long time. I honestly think that this Batman is the most perfect we've ever gotten him on the big screen. And the best part about it is that both sides of Batman and Bruce Wayne were very relatable. Both those characters were engaging. When he's Bruce Wayne, he is very cold, he's calculating, he's brooding, he puts on the great playboy facade where he's out in the parties. He does a really good job at being in those parties with all these other socialites, just talking with them, smoozing around with them, just pretending to be that playboy philanthropist. He definitely hides that face well, because you know underneath that this dude is dark. But when he's Batman, he's like this very scary vigilante who's a very brutal person. I'm talking like he kicks a lot of ass in this movie. I mean a lot. I think this is the most physical we've seen a Batman in on the big screen in a long time. And Ben Affleck knocks it out of the park. Anything you guys say about him and Daredevil, totally out the window with this here. He is the best part of this movie. I mean, all the way down from the personality to the costume. The costume was just on point. It looked like it was straight out of the Dark Knight Returns comic book, which I really like. Another one that I was worried about initially, because I thought that their inclusion would make this movie a little bit overbloated, but boy was I wrong. Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is another highlight of the movie. Every time she's on screen, even though there's a little bit of screen time sprinkled in there, she steals every scene that she is in. She just has that elegance and that presence that demands your attention right then and there. And not just because she's beautiful. I mean, the woman is beautiful, but it's just her presence, her elegance when she's walking into these parties with Bruce Wayne. When she's in the full Wonder Woman gear, she is just there and you are there with her, and it is just mesmerizing to see this person work. And I'm excited to see her in the future movies of the DCEU. I mean, all around, every cast member is given a really well done performance. There was really not many actors slacking. Notice how I said not many? But for the most part, their performances were on point. Another thing I was completely in love with, the Batman vs. Superman showdown. Now, although this thing is very brief, and I mean it's brief, just seeing these two on the big screen together just had me grinning from ear to ear, and I was just in my seat just kind of like, yeah! And you'll say that a lot during their brief fight sequences. And for those of you who are wondering whether Batman could take on Superman because Superman pretty much has the powers of a god, make no mistake here, it makes it pretty clear, as most of us comic book fans know, that Batman is more than capable of taking on Superman. And that was another thing I liked about the fight. It was believable. You actually believe that Batman actually stood a chance. Within the background of Batman, I do believe that everyone behind this film really understood the character of Batman and Bruce Wayne. They understood how that character ticks, how it works, and they use that to their advantage. Batman in this movie gets a fully realized character. He's the only character with a very strong character arc. It kind of makes you feel like if this was just a straight Batman movie, it would have been just fine on its own. And now let's get to the bad, because there's a lot. Alright, where do I start? Okay. The editing was complete dog doo-doo. It was booty. The movie starts off, it's saying like, oh, here's what's happening here. Oh, and let's see what's happening here. Oh, and let's see what's also happening here. And let's see what's happening here as well. And it doesn't really stay on one scene enough to make you take it in and understand what exactly is going on. It's almost like Zack Snyder didn't trust his own vision, and he didn't trust that his actors nor the screenwriters could carry this story, so he tried to make up for it with all these awesome shots, which are awesome. The shots look beautiful. His cinematography, his look, his style is always great. But the problem with Zack Snyder is that he's all style and he's no substance. And there's little to no substance in this movie. Now, usually when I look at a film, particularly an action film, I try to look at everything that goes into it. The editing, the screenwriting, the acting, the directing, cinematography, the whole shebang. So when I give my verdict on a movie and I say that it's not particularly good, but I still enjoyed it, I can see why people from the general movie-going audience would seem to enjoy it too. I can see why people enjoy Transformers. There's action. It has a straightforward story. You know what's happening during the whole thing. Transformers are terrible movies, let's make no mistake, but we know what's going on while we're watching it. But I honestly don't believe that even the general movie-going public will like this because the editing is just so choppy. Usually what happens in a story is you have the straightforward story where this happens, leads up to this, where that happens, which leads up to that, where we have a climax, the end, roll credits, maybe an after credit scene. But here it just feels like a whole bunch of disjointed parts of 5 different movies that don't really connect at all. I was hoping at least in the end where all these things just kind of came together, but it really just didn't. And what I got was a movie that made me want to see 5 different movies than the one I was watching right there. And one of the things I liked was the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes were fantastic. You saw in the trailer, Bruce Wayne runs into the rubble while Superman and Zod are having their fight, and you find out that he was actually there, and it sets up his motivation for why he wants to take out Superman very well. And you believe it. You really do believe it. You're on Bruce Wayne's journey to take out Superman. That's what his whole thing is about. Got it? Done. But the movie is called Batman versus Superman, meaning they co-anchor this movie together. So when they try to switch it over to Superman's point of view, I didn't really feel invested in what he was doing because his arc was not as interesting as Bruce Wayne's. I mean, instead of calling it Batman versus Superman, just call it Batman Wants to Fight Superman. Oh, and there's Justice League cameos. I gotta say, the setup was very, very lazy. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. I tried to separate me watching a comic book movie in like 2 separate forms. There's my fanboy form and then there's my movie critic form. I try to keep those 2 separate. I really do. So you can imagine my frustration when I see a cameo of a certain character, won't say who, and I'm feeling giddy at one point, and then in the same instant I'm feeling disappointed in how it was handled. It was very lazy and it was very shoehorned in. It was almost like they finished the movie first, and then they said, oh yeah, it's called Dawn of Justice, so we have to have a Justice League cameo in there to set up the next movies. And so they just tacked on that part to just so it can work? What? It was very tacked on, it was very rushed, and it seems like the movie was more focused on setting up the next set of movies than focusing on its own story. I mean, your movie's called Batman vs. Superman, you're already gonna get butts in the seat because it's the first time that these 2 titans clash together. So I feel like if they would have done the cameos in like a viral marketing campaign, then that would have been a lot better. If they would have focused more on the Batman and the Superman conflict, I would have been on board with it. But there's so many different cogs, so many different cooks in the kitchen that's making this thing, and it's hard to, like I said before, because of the editing and because of the lazy writing, it's hard to keep up with this thing. After that 15 minutes where I was totally invested, the next 15 minutes after that, I was ready to go to sleep. I'm dead serious. I love my comic book movies, but I was ready to go. And that's hard to say. I should not be able to do that my first time watching a Batman vs. Superman movie. 3rd time, sure. 4th time, yes. But the first time, no. Now, a lot of the cogs that shook this whole thing up before the movie even came out was the casting. I really do believe that Ben Affleck is going to prove a lot of people wrong with this movie and this performance. It's really going to shut down the naysayers when it comes to his chops at being Batman. Right now, to me, he's the best Batman we got, and I would love to see more of his in a standalone movie. Like I said, Henry Cavill, he's solid. I mean, he wasn't as hopeful as I would like him to be. He's still Scowly McScowl face. He's just walking around, moping all the time, hanging out with Lois. I was hoping for a more confident Superman, but hey, he didn't falter at all. So he did the best with what they can give him. Lois Lane. Alright, Amy Adams is an amazing actress. I love Amy Adams. I will watch anything that she appears in. I saw Big Eyes, for Christ's sakes. But Amy Adams is reduced to being the same thing that she was in Man of Steel. And I really like Man of Steel, but my one gripe with that movie, besides the whole Battle of Metropolis thing, was that Lois Lane was just basically a walking plot device. She's not there to do anything else than to just pretty much propel the thing along. And once she's done, they move her off to the side, and when they need her again, they bring her right back in. Oh, Amy Adams, you're better than this. I just can't wait to see a straight-up Superman movie where Lois Lane is handled right. And if she's not being captured, then she's literally at a place where I don't know how she got there in the first place. I mean, no spoilery, but there's a scene where she really goes, oh, this thing is happening. Let me drop it right here. Bye. Oh, you need me again? Okay, I'll do whatever you want. I'm serious. That's how it goes down with her character. And a lot of people who went equally as mad as when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. Was he good? Here's the thing. Jesse Eisenberg had a great performance. I'll just say it. It's a great performance. It's just not a great Lex Luthor performance. If you took Jesse Eisenberg's character in this movie, picked him up, dropped him in this other movie, it would have been a great performance. Would have been fine. It just doesn't feel like Lex Luthor. I mean, when you think of Lex Luthor, you think of intimidating, genius, sociopath, intelligent. More importantly, He's nonchalant and reserved. The scary thing about Lex Luthor is that Lex will tell you that he stabbed the child in the heart and ate it, and he'll say just a matter of factly, "Oh yeah, I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti." What is that, wrong? The fact that he's that sadistic is the fact that makes Lex Luthor such a terrifying villain. Jesse Eisenberg took it to a whole new level. He has this weird fidgety thing, twitch, like, it's basically like he was channeling his inner Nick Cage, and he just started going, like, honestly, I do believe that they're gonna start making Jesse Eisenberg's character into a drinking game. Every time you hear him say, take a shot, and I guarantee you, you will die of alcohol poisoning before the movie's over. Don't get me wrong, there are times when he is menacing, and this is what I wanted to see. When I would see him do certain things in the movies, I'm not gonna spoil what, I would say, that's the Lex Luthor I was looking for. Let's keep it going. And then he goes right back to, what is that? Why is he crazy? And here lies the problem with what I have with the entire movie. There was a whole bunch of different elements to a movie that I actually wanted to see, but they didn't give me enough of. It's 5 movies in one. You have your Lex Luthor story where he's trying to take out Superman. Then you have the Batman story where he's trying to take out Superman. Then you have a Superman story where he's trying to figure out who the heck he is and how he's supposed to fit into this world that's not his own. You have the Lois Lane subplot, which, like I said, she's just a walking plot device. Just walking. And then she goes out. And then there's a Wonder Woman subplot, which I was also interested in, but they didn't give me enough of because her screen time is zilch. And the fact that they keep jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, like, who edited this thing? Whoever edited this needs to get fired. Seriously. I hear there's like a 3.5 hour cut of this movie so that there's 1 hour left on the cutting room floor. I would like to see that movie because I hope it makes it better than what we actually got. You can clearly see that they're trying to keep up with Marvel and it's not working. One thing that it does work at is that it does get me excited to see these other characters. When I see the cameos from these other DC legends, I'm excited to see their own standalone movie. But as for the Justice League movie, I don't think DC can balance these characters as well. So like I said, the movie does have enjoyable parts, and if it didn't have Ben Affleck's Batman or the titular fight, which is super short, I'm still gonna go ahead and recommend that you see this movie in the theater. But if it didn't have it, I can't recommend it to you. I'm sorry. I tried all day. I tried finding things that I like. I tried to say that I like the movie. I really want to say that I like the movie, but I honestly can't. And that's not just me being a Marvel boy. That's just me being a movie fan and a comic book fan in general. Alright guys, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Have you seen it? If you have, then just comment below. I will be issuing a spoiler review later on, so if you guys have seen it, we can talk about that. If you want to comment, then comment on that video below as well. So, God, I can't even talk no more. I was gonna say I'm out and all that, but I'm done.